So we'll get started now. So before we get started, I'll probably try to give you a little bit of context about tech content and introduce Mohit before he goes on with the session plan for the day. So I'm Karishma from the tech container team. Thanks a lot for joining us today. So a little bit about tech container. We've been using this platform to share knowledge on upcoming trends, and this meetup is our 19th session. So moving on to the session plan for the day. To take us through Python for Business, I take immense pleasure in introducing the speaker, Mohit. He's a meticulous and result-oriented data scientist, armed with analytical acumen in natural language processing and understanding, algorithm development, and machine learning technologies. He's also experienced in sentiment analysis and data analytics using Python, Java, R, and big data technologies. He is proficient in using multiple algorithms and deep neural networks to create AI products. So thanks a lot for being here, Mohit. Over to you now.
Sure thing, Karishma. Thanks for the introduction and a very good evening to all of you guys. So here we have gathered to discuss a very different kind of topic. So basically, we might have came across this programming language at multiple places in our day-to-day work as a data scientist or as a data engineer or things like that. But today I will try to bring a different aspect of this programming language, not too focused on the nitty-gritties of maybe the loops or the if-else conditions or things like that, but more focused on the business aspects, that how this programming language can be literally leveraged by every aspect of the business and how it can reduce a lot of gap. And what are we going to talk about? How ready are we in terms of the digital future? So we already know a lot about there is a rapid digitization and everything is becoming digital. Every aspect of business is becoming digital. So we will talk more about all of these aspects. So without any further ado, let me try to set up a quick context. Okay. So I will start with trying to set up the context. So basically, as what I was talking about, most part and almost everywhere when you talk about business, you see everything is going digital. So there is so much things that are happening on the digital transformation and every aspect of the business or every touch point is assumed or we expect as a consumer to be more digital, and this creates a huge amount of pressure on the business as well. So we will try to understand throughout this presentation, are we really equipped enough to really work well in this rapid business transformation era? Then most of the business folks, whether you talk about strategic partners, you talk about HR partners, or you talk about the different business folks. So today when they communicate or when they try to build a solution or a service for the consumer, the way they interact and the way they talk, the language is definitely English. But will this language be good enough moving forward tomorrow in order to quickly adapt and quickly respond to this massive digital transformation or the AI transformation which we are looking at? And we would also like to talk about how does Python fits into this bill. Why Python? Why not Java? Why not other programming languages? Why are we going to talk about Python that fits into this aspect, that it could be the next business mother tongue where everyone should or would be expected to know or have a decent understanding of this programming language? So moving on to that, when we talk about a programming language, right? So basically any language needs to start with some sort of vocabulary or some sort of concept. So we will try to understand the very ABCD of this business language as we are talking about the business as a whole. So we need to ask the right questions. Exactly what is happening right now. So you see, there is a rapid digital transformation on one side, and the next revolution of AI has already touched upon the different segments of business. This put together is creating a different kind of scenario altogether for the business to anticipate and perform in this kind of situation. So are we asking the right questions? So are we asking the right question in such kind of scenarios? Are we doing all the digital transformation or the AI transformation for the real cause, or are we doing it for the sake of doing it? So that should be the right question. So from the AI side, I would like to ask, are we really progressing towards the thought of becoming AI first, and each and every decision that we draw should be data driven? In terms of business understanding, or when you talk about the different types of business, today everything is transforming into as a service. So model what we call today, this is everything as a service. So tomorrow nobody wants to take the cost of ownership or bear that cost of ownership. So every kind of business will transform into a service based model. So how ready are we, or how are we going to cope up with that? Then really comes the major point, that a business can really not outperform or cannot really win the game unless and until its collaborators are very effective. So when I say collaborators or the collaboration, I am talking about the different the technical people, the strategic people, the business people who are into different segments of running the business. So how will these different stakeholders along with the consumer are going to collaborate with each other? So the focus would be more on the inner collaborators. So the talk which we will have, or the further discussion, will be more focused on the inner collaborators, which are basically the business people and the technical people. So how effective is this inner collaboration within the business houses? Then put together, this topic is more focused on digital transformation, and it really begs the question that, are we truly ready to fully embrace the digital future? So we are talking a lot about digital things happening or digitization happening in every aspect, but are we truly ready or not? That is the kind of question we need to answer, or we need to understand. So in order to get into a little bit of more of detail, understanding this ABCD of business language, we will move on to the next part of the presentation. So I hope it might have set up some context for the talk. So shall I take a pause to take up questions in between, or we will do this in the end of the presentation? Karishma?
Yes, sorry, there was some disruption between, yeah.
Yeah, so shall we take a pause to take a few questions in between, or we will do this in the later part of the
No, anything that works for you is okay. If you have any questions, you can either put up in the chat, or if you feel comfortable raising it here, anything works.
Great. So before I move on to the ABCD, what we set it as the context, you might find it a bit funny that why I have structured the text in this manner. I mean, why the A and D could look little larger compared to B and C maybe even much smaller. So the idea is, even before we jump on to what we are going to discuss in that segment, the idea was to give a feeling that how how the digital transformation and the AI transformation is really trying to overtake the real core values of the business, and how it is even impacting more how the collaborators are going to bring that best out of the business aspect. So let's quickly jump onto this. So there is a concept called digital vortex. So basically what it means is there is a chaotic force that has been created, which is trying to pull all these separate kinds of technology or product companies, or different kind of incumbents, well settled companies or corporate houses, and they are really not able to perform anymore, more focused what was their core business. So this digital transformation is trying to create this vortex and trying to bring everything into that center. So what does it mean, what does it mean for people like us, who have our responsibility as collaborators? So should we sit about this, that okay, I work for a very large multinational, so it will never be affected by such kind of change? But that would be very wrong to say it. We will know this, why I am saying that kind of point. uh, but definitely, let me put it forward to you that today no industry is safe, no matter how large, how big they are. But if we are not able to come out of this digital vortex, or benefit from this chaotic force, we might not be able to pass by the digital disruption or digitization, what we call as of now. So basically, before even we jump into the effects of this vortex, I would like to touch upon those questions that we asked, and try to create a sense of basic understanding that we have as part of this discussion. So I will quickly jump onto certain terminologies to create a ground for all of us to understand what I am going to talk about when I mean AI, when I say business models, or when I say business, or when I say collaboration, or when I say digital transformation. So I wanted to set up this ground. So basically, whenever I talk about AI, basically I am talking about the simulation of human intelligence in machines. So basically anything or any kind of product or service that is built to simulate human intelligence, that means we are talking about a AI solution. And when we talk about AI solution today, this part is heavily dragged by the four frontiers, like the data scientists, the data engineers, and data lies at the core of the business value. When I talk about digital transformation on the other side, which is the major force, we are talking about any digital technology that is going to fundamentally change how business operates today. So so that means that, yeah, definitely you would have to continuously keep challenging what you have been doing as a business. So you don't get to say I am very good at my business and so I will keep continuing this. So you need to challenge that status quo. Then you need to bring in the culture of experimentation to your particular organization. And the most important aspect when you go ahead and think about experimentation, you will need to become comfortable with failures. So learning from failure should become a very integral part of your strategic making as an organization. Now, when I talk about AI and the digital transformation, it clearly gives an indication that all of this is going to create a lot of pressure, synergy, or energy, either to go on the highway of growth, or might even take you a lot down, depending upon how are we thinking in terms of our business model, or how we are thinking in terms of the collaboration that will make or break that business model. So when we talk about a business model, we are talking about any rational approach which an organization creates to deliver, to capture the values for its client. So basically the consumer. So the focus is always on principles like profitability, scalability, repeatability. So these are the guiding principles in that case. Now jumping on to collaboration, how do these guiding principles can be achieved? So it cannot be achieved unless and until all the collaborators are going to achieve their full potential. So basically, uh, collaborator means different people with different skill set. They collaborate together in order to bring a greater business benefit. So this is what we mean by collaborator. And in this case, definitely this is not an exhaustive list in terms of business or a strategic or a technology collaborator, but these are some of the main things which we wanted to ponder about throughout this presentation. So I hope it sets a ground in terms of understanding these terms. Let's now come back and jump onto the part where I said this digital vortex will create a challenge, and there is no industry which is going to be safe in this kind of massive digital transformation. And in order to back that up, there are certain stats. So already by now, there is 40% of market incumbents displaced. Is where some of the big business houses or big business models which were disrupted by startups and very innovative companies, and this is only supposed to grow by 45 to amount of 45% by the end of this year. So definitely, now if you already know this kind of a stat, definitely it gives a goosebump for maybe for a C-level executive of any company, where a survey suggests that 2/3 of the CEOs see there is more threat to come in the next three years than that has ever happened in the last decade or even preceding that. So now we are talking about what this digital vortex is creating as a problem, or why we should be aware of this. But we need to understand, I mean, every as the saying goes, every problem is an opportunity, right? So this massive digital transformation or the dynamics of this digital vortex can bring a lot of goodness to the organization as well, if we are ready to acquire a new level of agility which will allow us to change and adopt this kind of transformations more rapidly. So we need to understand the dynamics. So unless and until we don't understand the dynamics, that what is creating and what is being affected by this kind of massive digital transformation, we won't be able to transform so quickly. So moving on to the second aspect, as I said, the digitization and the AI part, it's creating a sort of vortex, and the most affected area is the collaboration, because the business growth or the goodness or the value creation can come with the best collaboration within the business collaborators, right? So that is being undermined immensely. And now let's say try to think about, so what is happening in such kind of situation where we are just trying to cope up with the situation of rapid transformation. So the innovation might be very slow, or to many companies there might be no room for innovation at all. Many companies might be following definitely a kind of a development process or a technological process, but how lean and how agile they are in terms of delivering their product, that's going to be a deal breaker as well. So whether the company is following a lean business agility or not, or whether the company is focused on the core principles of value creation. So whether are we focused on creating the cost value, or whether we are focused on creating the experience value or the platform value. So whether business is doing that consistently or not is going to be the real deal. So if we look at all of this situation, talking about the digital vortex and everything, definitely we need to think about a strategic approach where how we can benefit from this. So definitely the companies or the organizations which will be able to adopt or are agile enough to innovate rapidly, and during this rapid innovation they do not restrict themselves in terms of value creation. So their focus is still on the different types of value creation in terms of cost or in terms of experience or creating the right set of platform for their users. So they are constantly focused on that. So the companies or the organization who will be able to achieve this aspect is definitely will definitely turn out as a winner. And with that, this is the gap or the problem area which I wanted to talk about. Now that creates the foundation or the ABCD aspect, and now you know why the business and why the collaboration part has been kind of sucked into that vortex part. And jumping onto from this, and now as we already know that what the business needs to do in order to win this, so that we know in terms of a very high level concept that fine, but you need certain guiding principles that will help you to achieve those kind of goals or objective that we have stated for ourselves. So I will take a quick pause here, and if there are any questions, anything.
I have one question, Mohit, if you're able to hear me.
Sorry, I was not able to hear that.
Yes, yeah, we're not able to hear you properly. You can type the question out if you don't mind, because we're having trouble hearing you.
So, Karishma, feel free to interrupt me in between. And if you see there are any questions, I would love to take in between as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
So,
whenever you have any
moving.
issues, yeah, whenever you have any questions, you don't even have to wait for Mohit to probably ask this. You can just type it out in the chat, or you can wait towards the end and he can address it all in the end too. Anything that works for you.
Great. That being said, what we wanted to set as a context and what we have identified as our problem area or the gap which we were talking about, and we know what we need to set as a goal, but how do we achieve them? So we need a guiding principle, and all the content which I am talking about, these are well proven researched concepts that is already being practiced by some of the winners. So what are these winning principles? So let's jump onto this and try to understand the winning principle.
Yeah, before
So,
that, I think we have a question.
sure. Yeah, Karishma.
Someone wanted to know if you're talking only about DS or non-DS areas as well.
So this is absolutely true about every aspect of the business. And when you say a DS or a non-DS area, it only means that whether an organization has has been able to participate in an AI transformation or not. That's the only aspect. So it's not very restricted to data science or a non-data science area. It's more for any incumbent, which I mean any multinational organization or any organization for that matter, and what could be their strategic thought process for this problem. I hope that answers your question. Great. So let's move on to the point. Like by now we have enough emphasized on talking about why the collaboration is so important, and we have stated this again and again that the success or the failure of business in the future in context with the massive digitization or the AI revolution, it will totally depend on the collaboration or the collaborative strategy that we are going to have as an organization. So as I said, this digital vortex definitely comes as a problem statement or a gap, but we can definitely take out this as an opportunity to even sign out brighter and even to better perform in the market. So how can we do that? So the idea is simple. The idea is to focus on rapid innovation, but that needs to be guided by certain well-established principles like lean agile collaboration. So if you look at the same, we were talking about the vortex earlier. If you look at it at the center, the idea is to create a digital business agility. So you are very hyper aware that you are ready to respond to any such kind of changes or any such kind of transformation. And what does that require? You need to respond on both the areas. You need to respond on the behavioral awareness or the situational awareness. So what I mean by this is, when you talk about behavioral awareness, that could be definitely the customer or your users, they might themselves might start liking a different kind of service or a different mode of service. So the behavior might drastically evolve with the massive digitization. Are you completely or hyper aware of this fact or not? And situational awareness happens in context of that how quickly new technologies come into place. So that driving the technology, driving the business aspect comes into play. Now, once you are always or you're hyper aware of this, so definitely the chances of making a better informed decision are much higher. And when you say informed decision making, definitely you need to be very inclusive and you need to be augmented at the same time. So what I mean by being inclusive and what I mean by being augmented. So as I was emphasizing, when you talk about being inclusive means your decision makings are purely based on data. So you are including every other aspect of data that comes at the center, and all the decisions that we make are based on that what the data says to us. But when we say the augmented decision making is, we are also ready to come up with new strategic changes along with the change in the data to be more ready and to make that kind of strategic changes and decision making. That moves to the third stage, which is faster execution. So unless and until we are not able to exercise the faster execution, I mean, it will not make us agile enough. So basically, when I talk about faster execution, we are discussing about creation of different dynamic resources and dynamic process. So everything like we discussed earlier, the concept is the world is moving towards everything as a service. So now even you need to do the resource planning and the process planning as a service itself. So you don't have to wait for a certain situation in order to scale. So it should be in such an independent manner that you should be able to quickly scale in a dynamic manner, whether you are talking about scaling a process or you are talking about scaling a resource. And the resource, by resource I mean the different collaborators. So be it your strategy, be it your business, or be it your technical collaborators. So that being said, that this will be our winning principle to focus on collaboration and keeping our eyes set on the business value. Let's jump onto some of the principles that really drags this and has been in industry, and different firms have benefited a lot from this already. So this is not a new concept. So basically, increasing digitization or this is a new normal. I mean, you cannot complain about this, that this might subside in some time or things are going to change. This is a new normal, and it's only going to get even faster, and even more changes will happen with the purview of AI coming into the picture even more massively and more rapidly. So all you need to do is again to focus on the innovation aspect. And how do you do that? So basically there are these three principles which should be adopted by organization in order to become or in order to enjoy the benefits which is created by this digital vortex. So you need to adopt FAIR principle. Where I mean is, you need to have a very clear strategic setup where every decision making is based on how you do your planning, that it's always findable, accessible, reusable, and interoperable. So this definitely will fuse on all the collaboration level. It's not going to only be at a strategic level. It needs to be adopted by the technical folks, by the business folks, or people working at the different segments of the business. But the accountability should be taken by the strategic collaborators. So people who need to build the strategy for the firm or the organization needs to be focused and should make FAIR as their guiding principle. Now, quickly jumping on to the technical aspect, the technical contributor side, in which we are very interested. So we need to be agile. And when I say agile, the agility is not only in terms of our continuous development and deployment integration that we generally talk about, but in terms of the modern and age agile concept, the focus should be more on the experimentation. The focus should be more on the continuous, definitely on the continuous delivery, but how are we really making things at top notch for our users, making sure that we do not compromise on the security. So unless and until as the technical contributors we do not take these four things in accountability, we won't be able to fully create that value for our other collaborators. That being said, for the business collaborators, they need to have their eyes on customer requirement. So which means is they need to focus on the complete journey. So talking from the focus on the customer, talking the part where they need to observe every process. They need to be very very alert to remove the waste that might be created. They might need to think about reusability as well. They need to keep account of what fails, what does not fail, and how they can constantly empower their other collaborators in the process to ultimately achieve a state which is very systematic and very optimized. So nothing additional or no waste is being carried forward for the next level of iterations. So the business needs to follow these lean principles. So the accountability will be at a business level, but definitely these are not the concepts which only are limited to business or will only be limited to one of the collaborators. It's a very cross-functional, but these are the collaborators who might want to be the flag bearer for this, and they might have to take a higher accountability in these areas. So that being said, we have discussed about by now we have discussed about the basic agenda, what was the gap, why this massive digitization and the AI is creating a vortex, and how we can win through this. But still, it begs the question that we started our topic with Python, right? So how does Python comes into all of this? So by now, I'm pretty much sure already it might have been guessed by most of the audience that Python really fits the bill into all of these aspects. So when you talk about Python in action, you don't just talk about one aspect. I mean, its evolution from a general purpose language to a multi-purpose language has really taken it a long way, and in that journey it has really traveled and really evolved or adapted all of these strategic changes, and you can definitely use some or the other part to benefit from all these principles or all these business principles, and that is why it exactly fits the bill of calling it as a business language. So you don't have to go and talk about a lot of things. I mean, all you need to do is to see how you can benefit, how can you be more fair through your Pythonic activity, or how you can practice agile and how Python can help you in that. So basically, we are just trying to what we have done. We try to create a sort of requirement, and we see definitely Python fits the bill, and it will definitely help in all these different aspects, because we are very much already aware of what are the capabilities of Python. It's very robust, it's very readable. In terms of complexity, it's very simple, easy to learn. The way it's written, it's more or less like a talking or English language. So that aspects are very popular, and we are already very much aware of this. Let's see which aspect among of this might help us to realize some of these core values to guide our collaborative business effort. So when I say being fair, so now one way, the fairness itself means that we are talking about the reusability aspect, the interoperability aspect, and as such. And as of today, the major areas which has a lot of business traction and usability is data science, IoT, automation, and all of this, right? And they have huge open source community support. So when you want to practice all of this reusability and all of this aspect, so you really need a support, right? You cannot waste again your time to recreate things from scratch. So that will be taken care by this huge community support which Python has. And already whenever you take up a new idea or a bigger problem statement, you will very easily be able to find a smaller pieces of that problem statement already done, available on the open source, and you have at least a starting point to go with. And that is what Python promises you in terms of being fair. So it's definitely being fair for us in terms of giving that quick start, and exactly sitting on the fair principles as well. Jumping onto the other aspect, if we talk about agility, so we were talking about how business needs to be agile, what are the principles they need to follow. So how does Python fits in the agility bill? So as we have already spoken about, it's least complex. So the learning rate is very fast. There is no challenge at all in terms of learning. It's definitely multi-purpose. So you are not limited by, okay, if I know a programming language, will I only be able to do a web development, or I will be able to work on the data science aspect as well? Or do I need to create multiple libraries, or do I have all of this already set it up? So time, agility is more about time and how quickly you can respond back to the problem. And when you have a support where you have a lot of reusable libraries and things like that already available to your access, definitely you will be more agile when you use this as a core. And it's not that the first time I am bringing this idea. There has been many big companies, to name with Google, etc., whatever, they have been using this, and they have been benefiting on all the aspects of the business. So definitely it's fits the bill of agility as well. And when I talk about lean, definitely the thought process is more focused towards the business folks. So the business folks being more accountable towards following the lean principles and all that, they have to continuously connect with technical people, and most of that discussion goes in the direction of becoming or they will get more technical jargons and such things, so on and so forth. And such kind of collaboration cannot be so seamless until and unless even the business people take that very first step to adopt this language, to understand the basic nuances, and they will be more on the same page with the technical folks, and that can reduce the gap of the turnaround. And that will be more focused on your customer centric efforts, not focused on the complexity of building a technology or getting into the complexity of massive digitization or the massive AI thing. So we will not be stuck by that. So our business collaborators can take and definitely if they start speaking this language, it will become much easier for technical folks like us as well to contribute at a much higher level to understand their problem, and this kind of collaboration will definitely be seamless. So it reduces a lot of friction. That being said, I guess we have covered all the aspects of.
I think there was a question. So, are we
Sure,
suggesting
Kailash.
business users to learn Python? If yes, to what extent?
Absolutely. So the idea is definitely suggesting the business users to learn the language would be very much evident already in terms of finances. So people used to work on Excels, but they have already realized, I mean, crunching data, munching data is much easier using a language like Python. It's much easier and it does a lot of your complex activity with 2 lines of code or 3 lines of code. Now, when I say the business needs to learn Python, I don't mean that they need to get into the involvement of the development work, where the focus of agility should be taken more by the technical team. So let them do that. But the business can focus on making sure whether the validation and verification of the product, having that decent knowledge, that knowledge of automation to test such kind of things, should or will become more accessible. On top of that, even writing 3 lines or 4 lines of code is a common story that you see across the web. Okay, in spite of writing 100 lines of code, I only write 2 lines of code in Python and I can get my much bigger job done. So that's a very common thing for Python, but you need to learn writing that 3 lines of code, right? So that's the whole idea, to reduce the friction at a friction just by touching upon the concepts and getting into taking that first step to learn the very basics. That itself will go a long way. I answer the questions.
Yes, and I think there was another question too. So, they said they
Sure, please.
understand the excitement behind AI, but is it not too much pressure on business? How do we maintain a balance for the business?
Definitely not at all. I mean, it's one way to say it. I can definitely say this from my experience. Being a data scientist, we are supposed to understand business more and more, right? So more we understand the business, and that's not only true for a data science professional or for a data engineer, or for that matter, just a developer. Anyone who is working from the technical aspect, in order to collaborate seamlessly, they will or have to at some point of time understand the business aspects as well, how or what idea of business, how things are working, so that they can correlate their development process or the process behavior accordingly. Now the ask is, this takes more time for the technical folks because they don't have the background. So the journey, that learning curve is. But imagine somebody who already has a very deeper understanding of those business philosophy aspects and the process flow, they can very quickly look into the highest level of abstractions of your codes or behavior, and they can try out I mean, imagine the possibility that opens for them. It's millions of opportunity on the open source. They can simply try out, they can they can just simply run the piece of code. They don't have to do the development, but they will be able to bring a very powerful input to the technology development itself. So that's the idea. So it will not be overwhelming when we know that the amount of journey that needs to be traveled. I mean, we are not asking or the idea is not for a business folk to become a core technical person, nor the core technical person to become a complete business guy. So find that slight midway in order to do that. So that might or that will require certain strategic decisions at an organization level, and that will make us as organization more ready to accept this digital transformation. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and another question is, they said thanks, and the other question is, business folks were encouraged to learn SQL at one point of time, and now it's Python. SQL turned out to be not so friendly for business users. So, is there an advantage with Python? Why, and what's the value add for business users?
Actually, I would say that's a very good question. Okay, because if you even see the charts, SQL has been widely adopted, and that comes on every job description that is posted out there for a technical requirement. I'm not sure that is so true for a managerial role, but definitely for a technical requirement, that's very true. But as I discussed earlier, industry has already seen, the academics has already seen that for works like finances, marketing, or different aspects of management, where there was even a smaller bit of data where you wanted to do a very high level or very high level of aggregation, or even going to a level of creating macros or that kind of activity, people were using Excel, and they understood their Excel activity consumes more time than just writing a simple SQL query to even stop thinking about how it is creating that aggregation and all of that. That takes the pain away. So people started going into the SQL side. But the challenge is SQL is neither a general purpose language nor a multi-purpose language. It's very limited to the use of structured data. So all you can do is just play with that structured data, but that's not so true with Python. I mean, you have a lot of verticals to explore. You call it, I mean, if data is your interest, data science, data engineering, you talk about IoT, you talk about web development, you talk about anything. So I am not saying that you need to become these people. I am saying is, if you have a grasp of it, you will collaborate more seamlessly with all these multidimensional or all of these verticals and all of these teams. That's the idea. But definitely that should not go beyond following these strategic principles. So we need to have this guidance based on this fair, agile, and lean principles. So we should not go beyond that. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and there was another question too. So
Sure, sure, sure.
for all the reasons that you mentioned above, is that why you think that many universities have introduced Python as a course in MBA programs?
So maybe I am talking about this idea today, but as a matter of fact, there has already been a lot of universities across the globe who has been doing this for a couple of years, but that was mostly on the elective side. So even if you go ahead for doing a graduation for management and all, still you might get a chance to choose this kind of languages like SQL or Python or things like that. But now what they are doing, since these people, the new breed of managers, need to work amidst this rapid transformation that we are talking about. So this new breed of product manager, they need to understand the strategy, they need to understand the business, they need to understand the finances, they need to understand the user requirement and all of this. But they have this as a knowledge, and later on they take all this knowledge and go and collaborate with technical people to build the solutions, because that is what digitization is doing for all of us. When they do so, the collaboration is not seamless, because the technical people might not be so good at your business aspects. So how do we create that midway? So in order to cope up with this, lot of university a couple of years back, as like 3 or 4 years back, they started introducing Python as one of their coursework, even in the beginning year of their management courses. So it's not elective, it's already kind of being used. And the reason is because Python has already proved to be right in all these three different business principles, which can guide a positive growth and can assure to be benefited from that digital vertex. So that's the idea. I hope kind of that answers the question.
Yeah, they seem to believe that too.
So, Karishma, I will move on to the all, since we discussed on what we need to do with Python in action. Let's jump on to the final steps. So, what do we do? What do we need to do with all this information, right? I mean, having a discussion like this, and if we don't know, how do we utilize it to our benefit? So, let's quickly jump onto the next steps. Okay, how do we leverage this? My thought process or thought of a school is more in terms of the context of already the incumbents, means the bigger business houses or the industries in which we are working already. So how they can benefit from this, all the people who have joined can benefit from this. So basically, the organization might discuss, or we as one of the collaborators would put forward such kind of thought process, that there should be more training provided for cross-functional collaborators. So you need to create a new breed of, as I said, product managers or collaborators who are or have a right balance of both these worlds. Not only that, you might want to start reducing the gap by building a more powerful team. So lot of companies across the globe, they are coming up with this concept of business enablers. So you need people who are technically sound enough, as they are ready to grasp more on the business aspect, and the business people who are very sound in the business aspect, and they are ready to merge and create a very powerful team which will be focused on the innovation aspect, on the strategic aspect, but fulfilling what is our user value creation. So this concept needs to be adopted more across the organization. And definitely people should start focusing on innovation. So a lot of company, they think innovation is an option and an optional thing that they should do. But the way how things are moving, if we are not able to create a systematic process of rapid innovation across all the verticals, if we am talking about business, strategic, or technological level, if that does not happen, we will get caught in that vortex which we have already spoken a lot about. And then definitely training. So since the business is definitely look forward to the leaders, and they need to be trained in such a way amidst all this vertex of technology and all of this, they should never lose the sight of value creation. So definitely it will always or can become overwhelming even for the top-notch leader to get into okay, I need to adopt this technology, I need to bring in this, that, but they should be trained more in such a way that they don't lose the value of they don't lose the attitude of value creation. And when I talk about value creation in terms of cost, experience, or platform, we are talking about, are we making things more affordable for our customers? Are we creating a next level of experience for our customers? Are we creating the right platform where they don't have to jump onto every other thing? So this should be the kind of thought process, or this should be the guiding principles for our leaders amidst all of this rapid or massive digital transformation. And with that, I'm very thankful for you guys to listen to me so patiently, and all your questions are definitely valuable. So please go ahead and ask.
Yeah, there's another question on how we are going to measure business risk using Python.
So basically, whenever we talk about business risk, we are talking about exactly coping with this vortex where amidst adopting this technology, do we lose the sight of value creation or not? So definitely complexity, right? Complexity was the part where you might get deviated from your goal of creating that value and get more involved into the technological aspect of delivery and development and deployment. So for risk measure as well, the people who are working on the strategic side or on the business side, they will always have a better access of understanding in terms of their action or the steps they need to take, and they will collaborate more seamlessly with having access to this new language. I mean, I don't know for a straight away answer that there is a framework in Python that will directly do a risk assessment and can give you an answer, but definitely that is also a possibility for tomorrow. I hope that answers the question, Karishma.
Yeah, and we have another question on whether creation of an intermediate group of people who would be familiar with both business knowledge and technical concepts help.
So will it help or not, or how it will help?
Yeah, they want to know, will that help?
So to answer that, definitely, as I said, I might be talking about this topic today, but the concepts which I have spoken about, the idea which I have presented in fusing this, it's not very new. A lot of company has already started adopting it. There are a lot of academic side, they have been adopting it, but it's not at that scale, and we are not worried. The whole topic was, are we ready or not? So the organizations who are not going to adopt it, if they are not going to create such kind of team or such kind of group of people or such experts, definitely they at some point of time they will feel the pain of this digital vortex which we are talking about. So definitely the answer is it will be very helpful.
Okay, and the next question is, we have a lot of tools available in market for doing AI and ML, but what are your suggestions on basic tools apart from Python if an engineer was hoping to enter into this area?
So basically, definitely, I mean, when I spoke about Python, I was not just referring to the capability of just the ease part of the programming language, but I was also talking about at the same time of the different extended arms that it provides in terms of available services, in terms of available APIs, in terms of available packages. So all of these things are readily available. And the person who wants to start a journey, I would always suggest to start with something which is simple, and then definitely you can graduate or you can move on to something which is more complex. And there are some industries or there could be some situations where Python would not answer to all your problems. You might want to go to a more complex language. You might be working on compilers, you might be working on a certain solution, so you might want to go and explore that area as well. But as for end-to-end journey, especially focused on AI ML, the most or the next label or all the recent development that happens, for sure, definitely there is some access. If you have that knowledge or that access of Python as a language, it will definitely help you in your journey. I mean, as compared, because we really emphasized on the community support. So any journey can become smoother based on how big or how great community support that you have. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, another question is, how good is Python with real-time systems?
So definitely this comes from somewhere where we always go ahead and want to have a little bit of technical debate. So whether Python is very fast, or whether some other programming language is faster, or whatnot, etc., etc. So in terms of real-time system, whether you want to build a monitoring system or you want to build some other sort of real-time system, the answer is It's not just the programming language, to be very honest. There comes the whole pursuit of cloud into picture. So today you have a lot of that kind of infrastructure, which really puts the choice whether you want to choose Python or you want to choose Java to write your main code, compared to where are you going to deploy that. So that is going to be your main bottleneck or the governing factor in terms of the response rate, or in terms of how well that operation is going to perform, compared to the choice of language. Now, why not choose why choose Python, why not choose Java or C? The answer is very simple. Python stands on a label almost as zero complexity in terms of reading, learning, understanding, and sharing readability at that aspect of the code. It's really very least complex. So that becomes a choice automatically. So I hope that answers your question. But if you are talking about a head-to-head comparison in terms of speed or performance of such, so definitely always a compiler-based language will beat an interpreter-based, interpretation-based language any day. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, there satisfied the answer. Yeah, we don't have any more questions. So thank you so much, Mohit. So it was a very interesting session, and it got us thinking about a very different perspective. So thank you. And for everyone who joined us today, I really hope you enjoyed it as well. This session will also be uploaded on our YouTube channel. So if you have any doubts, anything that you want to clarify, you can go through that too. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks a lot, guys. Really, all these questions were very valuable, and I am very thankful for all of you to listening so peacefully and having all these right questions. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great evening.
You too. Thank you.